All right, everybody. Hello out there on YouTube and the internet. Go ahead and take this off real quick. This is my respirator. Notice I shaved my face, which is a necessity. You're going to equip yourself with one of these. You can get these at Home Depot. How much did I pay for this? Almost 35 bucks, I think. Not bad. This filter is the P95 filter for gas, vapor, and or organic vapors and particulates. It filters anywhere from 95 to 98% of particles. So that, and also the purple piece filter. There's a variety of 3M respirator filter you can get that has a purple cover on it, and that is the actual N95 filter for this style mask. Make sure you have a good idea of how well it fits. The object is to have well, it's not supposed to be comfortable to wear this. It's supposed to be very tight fitting to your face. Truth be told, that's to keep everything out. So I got that. I got my blue lens filter glasses like all the other cool podcasters have. And I has a cool Japanese sword. This is a real sword with a real edge on it. It's really sharp. This will be what I use to kill the Karachi virus zombies. Really, though, the point I'm making is that it's the only weapon I have at the moment. And yes, I am very good with it because I've taken swordsmanship classes, Aido, Kendo, Kenjutsu, and the like, and other martial arts. I've done a ton of different things through the years. But again, this is, one tool in a circle or continuum of force. I'll be getting into security and things like that regarding what we might be dealing with here soon in terms of, the shit literally hitting the fan. So you'll see I have up here the official numbers. Not that those phase me anymore. Dr. Chris Martenson over at Peak Prosperity, I think he sufficiently and adequately proved that these numbers that are coming out are not only false, but they're basically based on a quadratic algorithmic reporting formula that's approved by the Chinese state. And I don't think that China at this point knows even exactly how many people are dead. This is the Johns Hopkins site. Those of you who are following my content already probably are in the know type of people. You probably already know what this is. And also this, WuFlu.live. I like to look at both resources. I like the graphs that WuFlu has put up with the spreads for the different types of data, the infection rate, the confirmed cases here, and you can track it. If you're like me and you're doing a sort of timeline investigation of this, you can look at where the numbers were at from day to day during this outbreak. I like whoever's doing this particular website is kind of literally recording the history of things, and so they're doing a good job with this. You can look at you can get a live breakdown, official numbers, whatever that means to you, by hovering over a region. And at this point, I just want to go ahead and state for the record that I do not believe that China or the US or Canada's reporting numbers are real numbers at this point. I don't think if you go off what Dr. Scott Gottlieb said from the Mayo Clinic when he was in a recent interview with CNBC, him and a few other doctors actually have been saying that realistically only about 25% of coronavirus cases here in the United States are being detected at this time, and it probably has more, if not a lot, to do with the standards for testing and reporting at this time. Only really scrutinizing people that have been to China recently, knowing the transmissibility and the spreadability of this particular disease and pathogen. It's really scary shit. It's about top of the hour, 5 o'clock, and I'm still finishing my 420 bowl because I was doing research between segments before I decided to post this. Not many people have been showing this, though. Actually, if you continue, you scroll down. Nice graphs here breaking. Look at this graph for mainland China, keeping track of the confirmed case death recovery ratio and showing, here we are now, but look at where the cases go in terms of how that drift in this graph goes way over here, and then you have the rest of the data kind of running through the shadow of case confirmation. That's did not want that. And for what it is worth, you can also take a closer look at China, breakdown region by region, and an actual table also. All right, so that's that. I gotta stop rubbing my face there. It's a bad habit. So this is the gene mapping of the coronavirus. I'll include all these links I'm looking at in my description, just so you can pull this stuff up for yourself. This looks cool and all, but my course study in microbiology ended like in my second year in college. So this, I don't have any effing clue what this means, basically. I don't know how to identify gene proteins and amino acid chains and play fingerprint detective and stuff like that. Dr. Paul Cottrell, however, does. And I am trying to get him to do an interview. I will continue trying to contact him. I need to speak with him specifically about cases here in Florida. I'll be getting to that later on here in this segment, why I think that not only are the U.S. reporting numbers really underreported, 25% or more of cases are going without detection, but specifically regarding Governor Ron DeSantis, and knowing as a military veteran, him being a military veteran, kind of why he's taken the stance that he has, and I'll explain that here in a second, getting into what OPSEC is. We're going to go over here to our next article, though. That South Park episode about the ads. It got me. Now, this is about 2 days ago, but I did actually watch this interview, and I'm kind of wearing the hat of a journalist now. I mean, I have done training and course study in journalism and how to be a journalist, but my actual degree is in psychology. And follow up to that, more along the lines of what I learned in the military and also in armed security. I received a lot of training in profiling and reading body language and things like that. And I have to say that watching that interview, this gentleman here, the Chinese ambassador to the United States, Chi Tiankai, I hope I didn't butcher that too terribly. I'm not very good at Asian words and names, so forgive me. Did not deny that the coronavirus came from China's biological warfare program on Sunday and instead suggested that the deadly virus could have come from a military lab in the U.S. Getting into, I should just I watched it on TV. I'm pretty sure I can find it on YouTube. But I actually watched on TV this interview with the ambassador. And when he was begin to get interviewed by, I believe it was Margaret Brennan. Yeah, Margaret Brennan in this article. The video interview started with, well, it didn't start with, but somewhere in the middle, somewhere after her asking like her first 2 or 3 questions, she brought up, she didn't outright say, hey, did this come from a biological warfare lab? But she brought up the issue that there's a lot of traffic and talk about it, and that there's rumors regarding it, and that the fact that there is a Institute of Virology in Wuhan, and that Institute of Virology is not very far at all away from where the outbreak, according to official statements, began in the Huanan seafood market, which is a wet market in Wuhan, China. What was interesting is that in a very Orwellian type of way, he double spoke. He used double speak. Said, yes, I believe that there's still a lot that is unknown about this virus, is how he led his answer to that specific question. And I'm going to make a mental note to come back to this because I'm going to find the actual video interview so that I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. Now, the reason why this particular segment is called Earth Pulse and not coronavirus updates exclusively is because, like I was saying in my last video, which was the special announcement about the overhaul being done to my channel and what I've been up to lately, and a little bit about who I am and my experiences and what inspired me to do this work, is that the coronavirus is not the only thing we have to look out for. We're going to have to really, really be vigilant going forward from here. Excuse me. Got hiccups. We have to be really vigilant going forward from here. Not just the coronavirus or any other virus, because there's clearly becoming an issue with a bunch of novel diseases showing up. And I'll be getting into, I think tomorrow's Earth Pulse segment will be regarding specifically this issue, the discovery of all these novel viruses that have come about recently, and even going back to 2009 to the H1N1 swine flu pandemic, which, yes, it was pandemic because it did get everywhere and a lot of people got infected. It wasn't a particularly lethal flu, and it didn't kill nearly, and damn sure not nearly as many people as the Spanish flu did in 1918. But characteristically, it was definitely pandemic because it definitely infected enough people in a sustained fashion throughout that whole season in just about every part of the world. Even though it wasn't completely lethal, it fulfilled the requirements to be called a pandemic. So this article out of the Daily Post regarding Nigeria out of Benue, I believe is the city. There's a new disease, a new novel disease, and it's not Ebola, Lassa fever, or coronavirus, says the Nigerian government. Let me see here. Nigeria's Center for Disease Control was working hard to unravel the mystery. And so the minister, I'm guessing this is a person who's the authority for disease control and prevention in the nation state of Nigeria, has stated that the illness is laboratory tested, shows no symptoms of Ebola, Lassa fever, or coronavirus. It's not fitting into any of these categories. Furthermore, the Nigerian Centers for Disease Control has activated an emergency operations center. That's kind of a big deal to coordinate response activities in conjunction with the Federal Medical Center in Makurdi to ascertain the nature of the illness. Some contact information here. Let's see here. I want some more explanation about this. Are we talking about a fever here, or is this another way of saying fever, or is this talking about something? What exactly do we mean by internal heat? I've never, I mean, my fascination with diseases and stuff goes back to like to being to youth, to early childhood, when I first became interested in zombies and started to look at viruses and stuff, and was like, oh whoa, there's a lot of real, actually scary stuff out there. I was really young when the movie Outbreak came out with Dustin Hoffman, Cuba Gooding Jr., Kevin Spacey, a few other people that have like been in everything. Who remembers that line in the movie where Cuba Gooding Jr. was like, "Oh, I hate this Mutaba virus," and then Dustin Hoffman was like, "You gotta confess that you appreciate and respect its simplicity. It's 1/1000th our size. It's still kicking our ass." According to sources, this illness began its outbreak in the Oyi Obi community on Wednesday, the 29th of January in 2020. So far, 15 people have been killed. The story came out a couple days ago, actually, so we don't know if that number has gone up yet, or if the number of people infected has gone up yet. But the symptoms for this include headache, diarrhea, vomiting, and stomach ache, weakness of the body. I mean, these are flu symptoms. These are all flu symptoms here, or they're congruent with flu. This isn't saying fever, it's saying internal heat. So I want to know what the F that means. Does it mean like literally your core body temperature is going up to such a degree? And what's up with the swollen stomach? I mean, I've had some bad McDonald's every a time or two, and gotten food poisoning, and just completely poo my brains out. But distended, swollen tummy, no, not really. Not unless I was like had a bad case of indigestion and had to poop really bad and was constipated, right? Currently, the number of persons affected has exceeded 100. So, I guess we'll see what's going on in Nigeria. That is really troubling because apparently it kills its victims within 48 hours upon contact or infection. I don't know if you want to trade those terms with each other or find them synonymous or whatever, but that is a breaking and developing story. I'm going to be looking into that as information comes out, and I'll be bringing it to you guys. So yeah, Beijing now under partial lockdown. Virus death toll tops 900. Bullshit. It's like 100 something thousand by now, and more than 40,000 are infected. thing is funny is that Mr. Tedros, no, I will not call him Dr. Tedros because he's a fucking idiot. Um, he warns we may only be seeing the tip of the ice. He knows exactly what's going. He was in China. He's like homies with Xi Jinping. They hang out and F off with each other and smoke cigars and drink scotch together and shit like that. So, he knows exactly what the score is. He knows what's going on down there. And I just, the World Health Organization, in my opinion, I'm not going to state it as fact, but in my opinion, given the sum of the evidence and based on a preponderance of evidence, and you being fair in that regard at least, I think the World Health Organization is absolutely complicit in the spread of this outbreak and doing everything to contribute to the outbreak and not contain it, get it under control, and stop its spread. We're looking at a pandemic now at this point because not enough was done soon enough. I mean, now that it's everywhere, and we basically have to, as best as possible, manage the amount of cases that are coming through our healthcare infrastructure and keep the flow of patients, and at least the patients who are coming in with complications, under a magnitude of control enough that our infrastructure does not get overwhelmed. Because, well, let's face it, if our healthcare system gets overwhelmed, many of you have already seen the videos that are leaking out of China. I don't believe that the regime of Xi and the Chinese Communist Party has until the middle of next month before they are effectively forced to resign from this. I don't see them recovering from this. I don't see an outcome to this that is not ending in the absolute collapse of the regime and the need of reformation for the nation state of China. And possibly, really, I mean, the rest of the world. If China collapses, then, I mean, I'm not trying to say like the end of the world as we know it here, also in the U.S., but let's face it, our relationship in terms of our supply chain and our trade is so tight with China, and so dependent, so codependent. This is that really toxic, terrible, codependent relationship that all of your, you pick your favorite psychologist clinician. Dr. Phil warned you about, don't get into this toxic codependent relationship. And here, since Reagan, we have this, toxic codependent relationship. And it has reached such a critical mass at this point, and it is so interwoven and so independent that divorce at this point is going to be a worse pain than your atypical proverbial ripping of the Band-Aid off, in my humble and personal opinion. Getting back to the rest of the story, though, we have Jennifer Zhang here posting a tweet. All communities under closed-down model management, in the original Chinese language announcement is here. So the capital of China even the capital itself is under lockdown. The whole entire country is affected at this point. And where are you at? There you are. You're the guy I wanted to see here. This billionaire exile, Gu Wengui, he appeared recently on, what was it, the Steve Bannon show? Not that I watched Steve Bannon, but he appeared recently on Steve Bannon. Goes by the radio handle Miles Go, talking a lot about how the death toll could be, I think, actually what's actually being cited here in the photograph, as high as 50,000, and that's the death toll, not the number of confirmed cases. Chinese officials burning bodies to cover up the true extent of the crisis. Yeah, this is from windy.com, actually, and I'll pull up that tab right now. See, we're in the middle of Wuhan here, and you can see that. Actually, no, that's not what I. Here we go. Yeah, so let's see here. So it kind of puts it in this range here. You can see where my mouse cursor is. That's the sulfur dioxide concentration. This region comparative to the rest of China. This is right now. This is today, the 11th of February. Excuse me. The pollen count is a little high up around here today. But this was showing Wuhan. I'm kind of leaning into my little blind. So let me put on my actual glasses here. Look at this. All right, so looking at that and looking and comparing that to the map that I just showed you, this kind of zoomed out. And so, yeah, it's showing like basically the city of Wuhan proper. I don't think this is just from the cremation. David Dubine from Adapt 2030 did appear recently on Oppenheimer Ranch Diamond. Leah Shaper. And he covered that, I guess, apparently people get ripped out of the apartment and thrown into the forcible quarantine and whatever. And their neighbors like to be shitty about it and throw Molotov cocktails into their apartments and start fires. I'm not entirely sure that an apartment full of that many people, I mean, that they wouldn't realize that they're going to burn basically the whole building down with them. I think that, look, we've seen it before. We've seen Germany do it. We've seen, or rather, Nazi Germany. We've seen Lenin and Stalin do it. We've seen Mao do it. Certainly before this regime in the same country, we've seen Pol Pot. We've seen a lot of despots come through and pretend to be your friend to get into power and then just start kicking the crap out of you and abusing you when it comes down to it. I think that the Chinese Communist Party is taking whole apartment buildings that they think are filled with infected or suspected infected and just outright liquidating them. I think that's what's going on at this point with those buildings you're seeing on fire in China, because Xi was quoted, I think early on in the beginning of the outbreak. There was someone who apparently leaked out saying that he said that he would sacrifice all of China to keep Shenzhen, Wuhan, and Beijing and the industrial center of China together, to keep trade going and to basically have a means to start over again and to rebuild the country from there. So I don't know. But getting into what I was commenting on earlier, and it's too bad that the Sun Sentinel won't allow me to read any more articles after this without making me pay for it. But I am going to, let's see here, refresh this tab so that we can actually hear Governor DeSantis speak.
Florida, we've been monitoring the coronavirus. And obviously, my Department of Health's been working closely with the CDC. We have had a number of people who had been in that area of China and had some concerns about whether they had contracted the coronavirus. Everybody to this date who has been tested has come back negative. So we do not have a confirmed case in the state of Florida. Obviously, we're going to continue to work with our federal partners on that. I will note that as of last week, people that were traveling to the United States from China were diverted into one of 5 different locations around the country, none of which are in Florida. But when you go through those locations, you will be screened before you're released. So it's something that we obviously view as a significant public health threat. Now, fortunately, we don't have any confirmed cases in Florida, but we want to be proactive on that.
All right. Translation. Look, gang, we don't know if it's in Florida, but look, it's not in Florida. And it's a significant health to you living here in Florida, but look, it's not in Florida. I just put a bunch of my marijuana everywhere like an idiot. It's not in Florida. It's not in Florida. Trust me, it's not in Florida. This is Lieutenant DeSantis speaking right now. This is Platoon Commander DeSantis speaking right now, and totally from the stance and the position of Operation Security. Those of you who are active duty military and or veterans, you already know what I'm talking about. You already know what OPSEC is. Some of the propaganda posters that we used to see posted everywhere in the fucking chow halls and in our training rooms and in the like, loose lips sink ships, loose tweets sink fleets. What's another one? In the comments section, veterans, give me your favorite OPSEC little bullshit brainwash mantra that you liked. He's restricting the information. He's keeping it under wraps because he's thinking not necessarily as a governor of a whole state right now, but he's thinking along the lines of exactly because he sees it, because he's identifying that, yes, this is a threat. I'm getting in his head right now, I'm telling you. He's identifying this as a threat, and as a lieutenant platoon commander, in his mind, he's starting to see the need for that leadership style, that military leadership style, to come forward, where he suddenly imposes that need-to-know stranglehold on the information because he doesn't want his platoon, i.e. his constituents here in the state of Florida, to panic. That's exactly what that says right there. I mean, let's look at the headline here real quick. Patient at a South Florida hospital was tested for coronavirus. The public remains in the dark. And there's been follow-up headlines to this article that I can't. I mean, the headline is more along the lines of, again, testing is being done here in Florida, but we, the public, will not be getting ready and timely press releases to inform the public, which is our job, what the F is going on out there, so that people can prepare. At the same time, I do know that once the news breaks, once people really do finally, like the general en masse, childlike general public that is most of Florida, I hate to say it, as I like to say, Florida has its own brand of crazy. It's when the panic's going to set in, and everyone's going to run to Home Depot, everyone's going to run to Walmart, and they're going to buy out all the toilet paper, all the bottled water, all the food, all the everything. And it's shit like that really ends up leading to the need for martial law and lockdowns and things like that. If you look at some of the footage that's coming out of Wuhan and anywhere in China right now, store shelves are empty. And I think that no matter what, no matter how many bricks Governor DeSantis and people like Bill de Blasio in New York try to throw against the damn wall, eventually water is water, and water just, you can't stop it. It's going to come flowing through. And when it does, boy, because we did it the way we did, we're going to really get crushed by all that pressure when it comes landing on us, aren't we? Um, regarding that potential case in Holiday, which is about 30 to 45 minutes away from my present location, the Memorial Regional Hospital there, they freaked out. They got really worried about this. The incident appeared significant. Hospital workers told at least one fire rescue department not to bring anyone else to Memorial Regional Hospital's emergency room. They didn't want anyone else to come in and contract an illness or anything like that. And another department offered to wear masks. And Florida has taken the side of withholding that information from the public. So let me see what that nets me here. Nope. See, makes me pay for it. But you saw the headline here. Let me see here. Coronavirus. Florida says it can't reveal information. See? If anyone can get that article to pull up for me, it would be fantastical, magical, and meritorious. And really, let's get back to the video as another thing I wanted to kind of show you here. Let's try this one more time.
You know, Florida, we've been monitoring the coronavirus.
She's smiling. This one here,
and
she's smiling. And
obviously,
then
my department of
look at these poor kids. Talk about a PR stunt. Talk about some civil affairs group bullshit. Yeah, I know what civil affairs group is. I mean, let's get a bunch of, elementary school kids. Let's make sure they're all girls too. Let's make it look like, I'm all gynocentric and whatever. And then, I'm a member of the plantation. Look at these poor girls. Look at these. This one here is like, does not care at all. What? Boring. I don't want to, like, what the F is, this girl here is looking, I could tell right now, she's looking at the playground. She's thinking about that swing set. That's what she wants to do. And then this one over here, I can tell she likes to read lots of books. So she's probably looking at the, I don't know, the My Little Pony section over there. They don't want to be there. They don't give a flying rat's ass about any of this shit. And then you got the really creepy G-men standing in the middle of, like, what is this? What the fuck is this? I liked Governor DeSantis. I did. I didn't vote because initially I look at all the candidates, and when they all suck, well, I'm just not gonna make a decision. But initially I liked him. And some of the things he was doing, he got medical marijuana legalized, and then he put a backstop on it when the bill came up to get it recreationally legal. Throwing away more revenue for the state, sure, why not? And regarding this guy, Florida Maquis actually covered a story about him that I found interesting. Actually, before I transition to the next subject, Governor DeSantis here may be complicit in a scandal for a land grab, actually. And so I'm going to be investigating that further, and hopefully I can get in contact with him, Florida Maquis, because I'd like to actually have that conversation with him and maybe even possibly interview him and what his findings were in that article, because he made some pretty damning points and brought forth some pretty damning evidence in that subject. All right, so again, this segment is called Earth Pulse, not just coronavirus update, because that fits into the greater macrocosmic puzzle that we're trying to put together here. We have more things than just this pandemic with this 2019 novel coronavirus. Again, in my opinion, it's a weapon. We have more things to worry about even after this thing blows through. It's just like playing a video game. Every time you level up, the monsters get bigger and badder, tougher and stronger. So we're just gonna have to keep leveling up, because the second you stop leveling up, well, that's when you die. Let's see here. What exactly is going on right here at the start of 2020? We're only a month and a half into this. Yep, the global weather patterns are going completely nuts. That's some of the first things we started to really look at in terms of Earth changes going back a couple years ago. We're really starting to notice that these storms are just, man, they're getting stronger, aren't they? And it doesn't necessarily have anything, or mainly anything, to do with our involvement. Yes, there's geoengineering, and yes, there is climate change. Geoengineering is the man-made component that actually, does actually seem to have any magnitude of serious effects going on there in terms of what man-made influence can have over the climate. And then everything else, I think personally, going back to David Duvine, ADAPT 2030, has more to do with solar activity. I'll be following up with another chapter of the Adam and Eve story probably after this segment. About ready to close up shop, though. It is close to 6 p.m. Eastern Time already where I am, and I'm about ready for quitting time. But to finish up the story, cool picture, bro. That was not what I wanted to do. Yeah, there we go. Boy, I messed that up, didn't we? African swine fever. That's actually something I've never heard of before, but I'm betting anything it's a hemorrhagic fever type of virus. There, I went and did it again. Just by clicking on something. The H5N1 bird flu, H5N8 bird flu, those outbreaks are occurring in both India and China, respectively, right now. And the H5N1 bird flu outbreak is happening in China in the midst of this coronavirus outbreak. So their problems just seem to keep stacking up. Perfect storm is upon us. I'm going to include this article in my description section. But this was getting, I just find it sort of, I didn't really want to cover this sort of ubiquitously, but I just kind of wanted to bring this even to the Zero Hedge, and even though they are sort of alternative in there in terms of what their publications tend to produce, this is pretty fringe even for Tyler Durden, whoever he is. Understandable, he's using a pen name there, not wanting to get doxxed. But read this article. It's really telling. Talking about plagues of locusts. I mean, that's something I'm going to need to look into more. These are things. There's all kinds of things that are happening all over the world right now that are just huge newsworthy natural events. And really, the coronavirus seems to be the only thing that we can be seen to be hyper-focused on right now. And I think that kind of needs to change. We need to be looking at everything. Situational awareness is key. Anyone who is a military veteran, especially a combat veteran, knows that you really need to keep your head on a swivel, because you never know what could happen next. That was today's Earth Pulse segment. I hope you enjoyed that. The usual, please like, share, and subscribe. And I will see all of you in the next segment.